Hi, welcome to this Blender video tutorial entitled Blender Lighting Area Lamp. Blender's area lamp is a directional source of illumination that provides illumination from a grid-like plane source. To demonstrate Blender's area lamp, I have placed in my scene a model sculpture and a base placed on a flat plane. The sculpture has a gold material attached to it, the base a mottled blue material, and the plane a cherrywood texture. In the World Editor, I've added a blue blended sky gradient. I've split my 3D editor into two windows, placing the UV image editor on the right, and I've set the render output to display the rendered image in this UV image editor. I'll render the scene. As the scene has no lighting objects, the sky is displayed, leaving the sculpture, base, and plane in silhouette. I'll place my 3D cursor in the top view and add an area lamp object. In front view, I'll move it to about the height of the camera. I'll then rotate it in front view so that the area lamp is focused on the sculpture object. I'll switch to side view and rotate the area lamp here as well. The area lamp is now fully focused on the sculpture object. I'll then render the scene. As you can see, the area lamp overexposes the objects with a bright swath of light. Now this is because, unlike other Blender lamps, the area lamp is not a point source of light, but rather, as the name implies, an area source of light. This is indicated by the lamp's icon in the 3D viewport. The icon consists of a black dot with a dashed circle around it, within a dashed plane rectangle. I'll go to front view and move the area lamp so that it intersects with the objects toward the end of its dotted line extension. I'll do the same in the side view. I'll now render the scene. The area lamp now provides a soft, general, yet directional illumination of the scene objects. Unlike the sun and hemi-lamps, the area lamp's position relative to the object is quite important. Usually area lamps are placed in a scene so that the illuminated objects are near the end of its extension line as seen in the 3D viewport. I'll click on the Object Data icon in the Properties Editor, which displays all the area lamp controls. Most of these controls are common to all of the Blender lamp objects, and I've demonstrated a number of them in other lamp video tutorials. In the Preview panel, we can see a general preview of the area lamp output that shows a bright spot with soft edges fading out to black. Like all Blender lamps, the area lamp can be changed to any of Blender's lamp types by clicking on the lamp type buttons. Its color can be changed by adjusting the color swatch, and its energy or intensity can be adjusted by increasing or decreasing the energy control. The area lamp does have a fall-off effect, a point in space where the energy level is 1/2 of the original. But unlike the point lamp, its fall-off equation is not adjustable. There is, however, a distance controller, which by default is set to 25 Blender units. Generally speaking, decreasing this distance will cause the objects to appear dimmer, because the fall-off is quicker. Increasing this distance will cause the objects to appear brighter, because the fall-off is slower. I'll set the distance to 10 Blender units and render the scene. The scene is now much dimmer. Notice also in the 3D viewport that the extension line for the area light has been decreased in length to correspond with the fall-off distance control setting. Blender's area light also has a gamma correction control. The control ranges from 0 to 2 and is set by default to 1. Lowering this control level increases the contrast and decreases the fall-off. Like most Blender lamps, the area lamp also has the negative, this layer, specular, and diffuse checkboxes. The area lamp also has some shape settings. Now by default the shape is set to square and the size to 1. These shape settings are not the shape of a hard-edged beam of light, but rather the shape of the light emitter. I will zoom in a bit on the 3D viewport area lamp icon. Note that as I increase the size of the square in the Shape Control panel, the size of the icon increases accordingly. I'll set the square size to 10 and render the scene. As a source of light for a scene, these size and shape settings have very little practical effect. The shape settings are usually used when simulating a realistic type of light emitting effects such as from a TV or a projection screen. I'll set the area lamp's intensity to 0 so that it will have no effect on the scene. I'll then add layer 2 to my Blender scene. Here I have added a plane object to the scene and set the diffuse color to a light blue-green and added a bit of emit shading to the object. I have then placed a square-shaped area light between the plane and the sculpture, and I've sized the area light square to about the size of the plane and greatly reduced its distance setting. I'll now render the scene. Here we can see the squared off edge of the area light, simulating the effect of the sculpture being illuminated from the plane. I'll go back to only layer 1. I'll set the square size back to 1 and the distance back to 25 and the energy back to 1. Now by default, the area lamp has its shadow control turned off. I'll press the Raise Shadow button and render the scene. Notice that the shadow of the sculpture is now displayed on the table plane object. Note also that the icon in the 3D viewport now has 2 dashed circles around the black dot. You can tell at a glance if any area lamp in your scene is set to produce shadows by this double dashed circle. Note also that the shadows are ray-traced shadows. In order to render these shadows, the Raise Shadow button in the lamp's Shadows panel must be activated, and the Ray Tracing checkbox in the Render Shading Editor must also be checkmarked, which it normally is by default. When the Raise Shadow button is activated, additional controls are displayed in the lamp's Object Data Editor. These controls are similar to the shadow controls for the point and the sun lamps. In all of the available shadow sampling settings, the number of samples affects the hardness of the shadow. A sample setting of 1 gives a hard shadow, and numbers above 1 provide increasingly softer shadows. I'll select the constant QMC sampling and set the samples to 3, and then render the scene. The sculpture shadow is now softer. Both my sculpture and the table plane have a slight mirror effect to their materials. I'll select the sculpture object, go to the Materials Editor, and turn on the mirror effect. I'll do the same with the table plane object. I'll then render the scene.